What's new, man?
Nothing much. Taking it easy, getting ready for another week. Getting ready to play the Giants.
Matt talked about the conversation that you guys had. I believe it was earlier today. What did you want to express to him, and what did you take away from his return comments?
Yeah, again, I mean that's pretty personal, but me and Coach Nagy have a great relationship. As everybody knows, he was a big reason, as far as me coming to Chicago. Just my belief and his spirit and just how he brings it each and every day. So we had a very good and spirited conversation. Coach Nagy's my guy. I've enjoyed playing for him. And he's been nothing but a great coach.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Rob, are you frustrated by the pace of negotiations? And if so, how do you balance being able to show that and let the world know it without it distracting beyond that?
Yeah, putting yesterday, behind, and moving forward for me, the biggest thing is me focusing on playing, again, which I've been doing, so again, I know it's not going to be a distraction for me. The biggest thing for me is just going out there, trying to play my best, trying to ball out, and keep trying to lead this offense, I think that's the biggest thing, because at the end of the day for me, everything in between those lines trumps everything.
Deion Miller.
Alan, you knew when you scrubbed your social media of Bears things that questions were going to be raised around the world, the sports world, especially from Bears fans. What was the motivation for that? And then how did it feel to see so many of your teammates take to Twitter and Instagram and support you in the way that they did?
Yeah, I didn't know where to come from, again, but at the same time, to your next question, those guys in those locker room, in that locker room is what makes, playing special. Again, I love my teammates. I have nothing but a ton of respect for those guys, and even for me, it's unfortunate that, hopefully, you guys don't ask them many questions about this, because this is not their concern. Again, I can't say enough about my teammates, and those guys that I go to battle with each and every day, and at the same time, I appreciate those guys, so much just in general, and even, in between the lines. So, again, man, I got a ton of respect for every single last person in that locker room.
Michelle Steele.
Hey, Alan, nice to see you again. I appreciate you speaking today. You guys put your bodies on the line every week. Does this contract situation give you some unease just to not have that security as we get deeper into the season? And do you have your own deadline on when you like this to be done?
Again, I mean, that's things that are, personal that I'll keep to myself, but at the same time, again, we do put our bodies on the line, each and every week, but I mean, at the end of the day, for myself, like I said before, playing Sunday, even I can compartmentalize it, and just kind of, for me, it's just about getting better each and every week, as we get later and later into the season, just for me watching the film, I thought I played average on Sunday. I know I got a lot more that I could play. I thought I played with too high of pad level. I thought I could have been a little faster at times and play with more game speed. So for me, like I said before, man, I'm keeping it the same thing. Everything is about in between the lines. Because at the end of the day, that's what matters. Again, it's about going out there with those 52 guys. And trying to get a job done.
Colleen Kane.
Ellen, when you talk about compartmentalizing, how difficult is it to do that? And have you leaned on advice from anybody about how to do that?
I haven't really, leaned on too much advice. Just talking to some vets, but everybody's circumstances is a little bit different. But honestly, for me, being completely honest, once I get in between those lines and everything, my mind is not focused on anything else, and really not too much, outside of the lines, as certain situations may come up, but for the most part, again, everything is pretty much the same for me. I know there was a lot of commotion and stuff going on yesterday, but, as I just was chilling, talking to Coach Furry about the game plan, watching some stuff from the Giants, so for me, I try to keep the main thing as much as possible. Obviously, being in the NFL, you have, the business of the NFL, so things do come up. But for me, for the most part, I'm able to keep the main thing always.
Adam Hogue.
Alan, can you clear up some of the trade talk at least? Did you ask about a trade, and do you at least expect to finish this season with the Bears?
Yeah, I would say so. Again, the tough question of that is, again, everything that was said or whatever the case may be, I've talked to Ryan, I've talked to Coach Nagy, so as far as everything else, we're in the clear with that, and like I said before, again, for me, it's about, playing with these guys, playing with these guys in the locker room, playing for Coach Nagy, again, that never has really, shifted. So again, for me at the same time is, it's my job to go out there, play well on Sundays, and to help my offense and to help my team, get better each and every week and win games.
JJ?
Alan, did this just all kind of come to a head for you after week one when you saw, previously Keenan Allen and DeAndre Hopkins and Cooper Kupp get those extensions, and then you were kind of left without one going into Sunday?
I wouldn't say that. I think that again, it's just more in general to that. Like I said before, I'm gonna keep that confidential. But at the same time, like I said before, it's the business of the league. So it's a lot of things that go on and that change each and every day and stuff like that. So again, I am trying to I'm gonna put all that behind me, and again, continue to look forward to, we got a game this Sunday, against a tough Giants team, and that's where my focus is at.
Jason Leisure?
Hey, Alan, you've spoken very passionately in the past about how you envision your career with the Bears going and wanting to be among the all-time greats with the franchise. When you think about the possibility that may not be able to happen, and you may need to go somewhere else to get paid what you believe you deserve, how do you feel about that?
Again, my heart and spirit has never wavered. Again, what you're saying is part of the nature of the business. Again, so for me, I only can, again, control the things that I can, and doing that wholeheartedly, is again going out here, being the best player I could be, for my teammates, going out here competing on Sundays and helping us win games. And after that, everything after that is going to continue to play out, how it's going to play out. But like I said before, I've talked to, the people in this organization, in the locker room and everything like that.
Dan Wiederer?
Alan, back to Dion's question about scrubbing your social media. That obviously took some time. It took some motivation. It took some emotion. What was behind that for you?
And, like you said before, again, it took some emotion. At the same time, I think everybody knows how passionate I am about the game. Or the passion that I've had, for the city of Chicago, and I had the passion that I had, for the city of Chicago. And to put on this Bears uniform and everything like that, So again, I'm a passionate person. Again, I know I may not show it on the sidelines and stuff like that, but the things that I believe in, I really do believe in them. And again, that's just where that came from.
A couple more for Alan. Adam Johns?
Hey, Alan, just to confirm, you still want to be here, right? There was no trade request put in by you. And on top of that, when was the last serious offer you had from the Bears to seriously consider?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that detail, but like I said before, my heart and spirit, has never wavered. As far as the city of Chicago and playing for the organization. Like I said before, obviously you dive into the business of the game, and there's different variables that go down to that, But again, how I feel about my teammates, how I feel about this team, how I feel about this city and everything like that, again, has never wavered. Again, like I said before, when you're in this business and when you're in situations like this, things come up, So again, to answer your question, I feel the same way, how I've said I felt prior.
Last one, we'll go to Pat Finley. Pat?
Yeah, I got it. Alan, fans were freaking out about this yesterday. Would you want them to interpret this as part of a negotiation or as a line in the sand?
Again, that's tough to kind of get into, but I will say that, as always, I appreciate 1,000%, the fan base that we have here in Chicago and the love and support that we have, from them and for this team, again, and it's been nothing but love from them since day one, since I stepped foot in this organization, so I'm always appreciative of that, so, and that was something, again, that for sure was not noticeable yesterday. I definitely did take notice of that. And again, I appreciate it. Like I said, man, I have a ton of love and respect, for this city.
Thanks, Alan.
All right, so I'll get started here. Like I said to you the other day, we came out pretty clean in regards to the injuries and that sort of thing. I think with Robert Quinn this week, most likely be limited, but we're going to get a good chance to be able to see him today. So I don't know to what capacity yet. We'll kind of see where that goes and how he is, but just to fill you in there, I'm sure that was going to probably be some questions and just give you an idea where he's at. Otherwise, roster spot wise, yesterday, Rashad Smith and Jamon Brown, we both lost from our practice squad, and wish them well. They were really good players, but they get a chance here. So that's that.
We'll kick things off. Jeff Dickerson, go ahead.
Hey, Matt, we're all doing fine. We're all muted before, and I don't respond.
Yeah, I hear you. Good. Awesome.
Hey, listen, I know contracts are not your department, but, Allen Robinson's agent came out yesterday and said that he's unhappy about where things stand right now with negotiations. How do you as a coach make sure when something like that becomes public, how do you make sure that does not become an issue or a distraction inside the locker room?
Yeah, we just, how we roll here. We talk about things. And so I had a great conversation with Alan, just excited about where we're at. He's a leader. He's a very important part of our team. As far as the other part of it, that's not my world. That's both sides to deal through that. But I think, our players all realize the history that we have here in regards to taking care of guys, and I think it was a really, really good talk that Alan and I had. I think, when you have situations like this, it's only fair that both be able to talk. So hopefully, I think he definitely feels good, and, he's confident that we want him to be here and that he wants to be here. So that's really the ultimate goal in all this.
Jason Leisure.
Matt, were you concerned, or are you concerned that one of your best players possibly doesn't feel valued or respected by the team?
Zero concern. I think, like I said, just talking to him, it's everybody's able to talk. It's so much easier when you just cut out the middle stuff and all the emotions of people that people get into and start saying. And when you're just able to just talk one-on-one and you listen, that's the other key part of this too, is he listens, we listen, and it usually things end up pretty good. So I really don't have any concern.
Dan Wiederer.
Matt, so what reduced your concern in your face-to-face with Alan, and what did he communicate to you that he's in a better place than he was maybe yesterday when he was scrubbing his social media accounts of all Bears-related stuff?
Yeah, probably the biggest thing is just both of us understanding that it's a process. These things don't happen overnight, and again, remember what I've said from day one. This is an instant gratification world we live in right now. Everything needs to happen now. So patience and process is a part of this. And when you have two sides that are working through this, it's their job to do it. And I'm me as the head coach and him as the player. We have our own relationship too, and I think that's important that we talk through that kind of stuff. And again, Allen Robinson is a super really, really super individual, and then he's a super player too. So it's just, you talk through those things.
Brad Biggs.
Hey, Coach, when you went back and you looked at the film, what did you see from James Daniels, and then how did you assess Danny Trevathan from Sunday's game in Detroit?
Yeah, I would say, Brad, with watching James specifically, I thought there was a couple shots in there in that game where he handled some stunts really well. Had some good anchor. In the run game, you could feel all five of those guys along with the tight ends, which was very valuable. I like that. I know that, he knows that every day he's going to grow, but I thought he had a good game along with the rest of the guys. And then Danny, it's always hard to, you come out here this first game, and I think Danny would tell you that he's had better games for sure. He knows that. But the one thing I love about Danny is that he cares so much. He's the leader of this team, and whatever that is that he needs to do, I know he'll do that. And really overall in general, just for our team, really not just defense, not offense, but really the team in general, I think we can play a lot better. And the good part of that, like we talked in our team meeting today, is that being down 17 and still being able to win gives you a little bit of confidence all around, even if we all didn't play or coach our best game.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Matt, I know we've probably asked you this about Mitch in a couple of years here, but when he has a game where there's just one quarter of these flashes of plays that are brilliance, what is the coaching points in trying to harness that for a whole game? I mean, what have you learned over the past couple of years that maybe you can use this year to try to get that full 4 quarters from him?
Probably the biggest thing, Kevin, for Mitchell, using him as an example, when you say, the 3 quarters versus 1, is I thought that he did a really good job in the pocket, and he was accurate in the pocket with some different types of play actions, some movements that we had. And you're never going to be perfect. There's a lot of good quarterbacks that played this past weekend that didn't play real great. So we have to temper that as coaches, as emotional as we all can get. Then for him to play as well as he did in that fourth quarter, it was that's special. Now he played at another level in that fourth quarter. Man, if we could get 4 quarters of that, you can see what could happen. So every game's a little different. He figures out, okay, where can I get better? Well, 3rd down and a couple places in the red zone. Mitch would tell you that we could get better there. And so we just got to make sure that we as coaches are putting these players in the best position possible and making them take advantage of their strengths. If we're not doing that as coaches, that's our fault. But if we then put them in a great position, and then it's their job to execute. And I think that's where collectively we got to make sure every single day we are harping on the details to be perfect.
Mark Potash.
Hey, Matt, curious, can you go over kind of the scripted plays thing and just, how strict are you to that? How deep into a game do you go with scripted plays? And have you pinpointed any reason why the scripted plays aren't quite as effective as they were in like your first 3-4 starts with the Bears?
Sure. They're all a little bit different every week based on some things that we see. Usually it's a first 15 that we stick to, that I stick to. You try to get through as many as you can. You try to stay stubborn with it because there's a reason behind it. We had planned, for a lot of that game to be able to in that situation on 3rd and 1 to run the QB sneak. That wasn't something we just tried to shoot off our hip. That was a planned deal. So, that went to start off the season 3 and out. It's not really what you want. But we rebounded and we were able to move the ball a little bit. We just didn't do well in the red zone and 3rd down. So I think every game's a little bit different.
Adam Hogue.
Hey, Matt, quickly back to A-Rob. Maybe it's just the social media world we live in, but I don't remember ever seeing a Bears player garner this type of support from teammates in this type of social media campaign. What's your reaction to it, and is it something actually you sort of like to see?
Yeah, I think Adam, what it does is a few things. Is number one, you're right. The social media world is where we're at right now, and it's a voice for people. And so we all understand that, but I think when you start seeing his teammates and like you said, show the support, that just goes to show what type of culture that we have here of the players that believe in each other. And it's the same thing with us as coaches and personnel department with Ryan and his guys. I mean, it's a pretty cool culture that we have going on right now. Guys that like each other, guys that want to be here. And again, I think it's more so than anything to all of our players. If you look at the history of the Chicago Bears here, especially recently with players that we have on this team, I think you'll see it's pretty friendly if you really look at that. So there's a process and there's some patience involved probably for all of us.
A couple more here for Coach. Deion Miller.
Matt, you were going back to Mitch a little bit. You talked about getting close to getting 4 quarters of Mitch playing at a special level. How close is he to that from what you're observing? to being more consistent?
Sure. Yeah. Well, that's the word, Dion, is consistent. And I think that's where when you evaluate the quarterback position, inconsistencies can get you, right? And that's what can get frustrating if you're inconsistent. So you can't be consistently inconsistent. You got to be consistent all the time. That separates the good from the great ones. And we're trying to get to that point. That fourth quarter that Mitchell produced and put together, number one was special physically, but for him to bounce back mentally the way he did after those first three quarters, and again, I don't want to give all the credit to Mitchell because there were some pretty good routes, there was some pretty good protection, and there was some pretty good catches as well. But what happens is that when you fight through and you battle through like that, you feel that momentum and it catches fire, and then it ignites the defense, and then it goes back and forth. And so, boy, if he could put together to throw 3 touchdowns, be 8 for 10, and have that rating he had, you don't need all that the whole game, but if you could get some of that, that'd be pretty good.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Matt, when you put Mitch under center as opposed to the shotgun, is that a product of what you want to do, what he is more comfortable with? Where's the intersection there of, I mean, this is a guy who he was a shotgun quarterback all through college.
Yeah, right. I think for us, it goes into one of those deals where now this is year 3 for us, and you start looking as to what are the strengths of your players type deal. It allows you, we did some good self-scout here in the off season. We tried to look at some different things, and you can see that going under center was something that we evaluated. And again, to offensive line and tight ends and Coach Juan, first down for us was a really good play for us this past game. We were 3rd in the league right now on first down averages. And so you like that. Under center probably helps that out a little bit. You want to be able to keep teams off balance, and we still have a lot of stuff from the gun. But as we're trying to create this identity of who we are, you could probably feel there's a little bit more of that for sure this year.
Last one, Hub, go ahead.
Matt, after watching it a few times, Khalil has set the bar so high that obviously he made a lot of plays, did a lot of nice things Sunday, but he had a favorable matchup and he didn't have those game-changing plays. I'm wondering what your observation of his game was Sunday.
Yeah, Hub. I would agree that I think overall, when you watch the tape for, our defense, I know that they can play better. I have zero doubt in that they will play better. And you look at the frontline guys, you have to be able to get pressure against Stafford. Now, it's hard to get after the quarterback when the ball's out as fast as it was. There were some one-hitchers that were out pretty fast. And I thought that they had a pretty good game plan that they worked around. Stafford has experience. He knows how to work the pocket. We did get after him a few times. Akeem Hicks made that great sack on a sprint out where that's hard to get a sack on, and he did it. So it's certainly not for effort. I know 52 Khalil Mack is the best in the league at rushing around the corner and getting after these quarterbacks. So, all of a sudden next week he could go out and have 3 or 4 sacks just like that. But I would agree with you, Hub. I think that we could certainly get a lot more pressure, which would help out these DBs on the back end.
Thanks, Coach.
Mitch,
all right, thanks.
After you had a chance to review the tape and having been critiqued the good and the bad from the game, what did you see? What stood out to you mostly?
Yeah, I thought we started slow and finished strong, and we got to be better on third downs. But I love the way we ran the ball. I liked our play pass, and it was very obvious we got to be better in third down, especially early on in the game, staying in the field. And converting those critical situations to create points so we don't put ourselves in a deficit like that. But to battle back the way we did says a lot about this team and this offense and what we're capable of. So hopefully you guys see that, continue to buy in, so we're able to make more plays early on in the game. But mostly it comes down to me and just overall execution with the guys on third down.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Mitch, I'm wondering the last time you quarterbacked a game where you were under center that much, and what was the process this offseason of getting used to that being a bigger part of the offense?
That was the most I've probably been under center my whole career. I mean, I was all shotgun in middle school through high school and college. and then learned a bunch of under center when I got to the NFL, and then it was a good portion of it. And it's just repetitions. I'm very comfortable with it. I love the play actions, the nakeds, and the dropbacks from under center. I think it hides the defense even more, whether it's going to be a run or a pass. And you just got to keep the defense off balance. So for me, it was just repetitions, getting the footwork under center, getting good meshes with the backs on all the stuff. And I think it's been a positive for our offense, and we're just going to keep growing with it.
Hub?
Mitch, I'm sure you love all your receivers, but how important in particular is it to you to have Allen Robinson as a primary target? As a guy, it felt like at times over the last couple of years, he's almost become a bit of a security blanket for you.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Allen's just so reliable. You can go to him in any situation. And the saying about him is when he's open, when he's not open, he's still open. So just put in his area, he'll go make a play for the offense. And that's my guy. So I know there's a lot of talk about his contract and all that. And hopefully they take care of him, because me and the rest of the guys on the team, we want him around. And that's very obvious. We love A-Rob, and we all know what he brings to this team. And they just got to get that done so we can keep him around and continue to take care of business. But we're not worried about anything else, because we know how Allen approaches the game, practice every single week. So in between the lines, in the locker room, everything's been the same. It's been awesome. So can't really say how much he means to this team and this offense. And he's always been there for all the guys that, on and off the field, and when it comes to playmaking ability.
Dan Wiederer?
Should you recommend some zero dark 12 for A-Rob there, maybe?
I would recommend going dark for any guys who'd ask me. You know me, I'm not active on Twitter, Instagram, but the guys like it. And I think the worst place you can go is to start to get into arguments with people in the outside world and try to get other people's opinions on it. But all I know is everything that's going on in-house, and we'll take care of business that way. And I'm always going to have my guys back. So whether it's A-Rob or anybody else, I always got their back. We're in this together, and I would definitely recommend to go dark when it comes to social media. Just keep it in-house.
Mitch, on a different note, you and Matt have both really emphasized the third down improvement that's needed. What's the process of making the quick fixes from week 1 to week 2 to try to get that a little bit more oiled up?
For sure. It's growth in every area, especially third down. And I think great teams realize that, are just conscious of it, and then approach practice that way with that mindset. Be like, okay, it's third down. Everyone better lock in, because we got to convert this and stay on the field. So I think at first it's a mindset, and then it comes to studying the plays, everyone knowing their job, and then it's the execution. So if everyone does their job, we should be able to convert more third downs. And when you make it more of a focus, especially in practice, I think that's when you get better at it. So that's what we're going to do this week.
Michelle Steele?
Hey, Mitch. Coach talked a little bit about consistency and bringing that more earlier in the week. What are the keys for you to being more consistent on Sunday?
Definitely. I think for me, just continue to make good decisions, cut out a few bad decisions, and then just find completions. Don't try to force stuff early on. Take what the defense is giving me and just continue to go through progressions and make good decisions by finding completions. That's keeping it simple.
Pat Finley?
Mitch, what was different when you were under center? What did you notice that was different about whether it's windows or passing lanes or the momentum of defenders? Was there anything tangible as opposed to being in the shotgun?
I think it's just a little different the way the defense approaches it, because they have to respect the run more. So I think some of the passing lanes were a little more open. Our O-line has done a great job protecting from under center. So I don't know if the pass rush isn't coming as hard when they're expecting more of a run play to come, and then we turn around and hit them with a pass. So it's just keeping the defense honest, and those lanes have opened up. I think it's something that's been comfortable for myself and the receivers to time up on those certain routes that come from under center and play action and of that sort. So we're just going to keep exploring it, keep getting better at it, and keep finding things that fit this style of offense and what fit our personnel. So I think if we keep doing that, we'll keep evolving on offense, but it's definitely helped so far.
Mark Potash?
Hey, Mitch, with regard to the, excuse me, the early in the game, how do you replicate the urgency you feel that's so successful in the fourth quarter or in certain times in games? How do you replicate that at the beginning of the game so that you can be good? Because you say, well, we have to be better, but it seems like it's almost impossible to really create that kind of same feeling, that dynamic you have that you're so good late in the game at the beginning.
Yeah, we got to get to a point to where we just feel it. I don't think you want to go into the mindset that you attack the game like you're down 17 points, but it's got to be somewhere in that realm where we're being aggressive, but we're also taking care of the football and doing our job. So wherever we got to get to be in that mindset to come out and start fast, we got to step up as players and do that and take care of business. And that's where we want to get to, just being aggressive and have that attacking mindset and come out starting fast and throw the first punch.
Couple more for Mitch. Stacey Dales.
Hey, Mitch, you talk about all the improvement that you want to take away from the game. Where did you feel the most growth? I know it's just a game, but, where do you feel the most growth after assessing the tape and coming into week 2 with this offense?
I feel like my feet were a little more calm in the pocket. I feel like my eyes were up a lot more. I wasn't looking to run as often as I was last year, letting plays develop, and I feel like I was happy with a couple of throws that I threw a different type of ball than the ball I would have thrown last year per se, just more dropping it in as opposed to trying to rifle it, seeing it earlier, letting it go. But there's still some throws on tape that I definitely need to improve from. So I'm going to focus on that and working on it in practice week and just try to keep getting better.
Colleen Kane.
Hey, Mitch, going back to Alan, I know you're off social media, but we saw some guys tweeting about it yesterday. How do you guys as a group, walk the line between wanting to support your guy as he wants an extension and not letting it become a distraction?
Well, we always support each other 100% all the way. So we're always behind our teammates, but I think it's really simple for us. It may seem like a distraction online or on Twitter or whatever it is, but we don't see that in the locker room. We don't see that on the field. And it's, especially with Allen and a lot of the guys we have on offense, you never got to worry about that type of thing because we're attacking practice and everything's team first mentality because I know these guys in the locker room. So the way he has handled himself and the rest of the guys on offense, it's professional. They're trying to get better. And I think all that other stuff will take care of itself.
Deion Miller.
Mitch, what did that fourth quarter do for you mentally?
It was just really nice to come away with a win. I think it gave myself and the offense confidence that we could put up points in a hurry. We just we'd like to do it throughout the first 3 quarters as well, not just all in the fourth quarter. So that comes down to consistency. But I think scoring three touchdowns in the fourth quarter gives your offense and myself a lot of confidence that you're able to do something like that. So for us, it's going to be consistency, starting faster, and having that better sense of urgency.
Last one, Adam Hogue.
And Mitch, not to keep harping on the under center stuff, but Matt said that it kind of came as a result of self-scouting and playing to a player's strengths, which I find interesting because, as you said, like you don't have a ton of experience under center. Going back to North Carolina is mostly shotgun. You probably had your most experience in 2017 under center. When did you realize that that's something you were good at and was one of your strengths?
I kind of looked at the self-scout from last year too, and I just saw the more productive and explosive plays were coming from under center. And when we were selling the run, just like the pass, when we didn't give a defensive tell, and a lot of the times we were in shotgun and teams would favor the pass more, and when they know pass is coming, it just makes it a lot harder to find completions and get explosive plays because they're just going to sag off, play soft zone, and keep everything in front. But when they have to respect the run, I think it sucks run defenders up and creates bigger pockets for our playmakers to go make plays. And for me, it's just repetition. I feel like I'm athletic enough to work on anything and get good at it eventually. So the under center stuff and the footwork, I think it's just repetitions for me. It's something I've become comfortable with and like. But yeah, it was just a self-scout thing from last year to this year, and it keeps the defense honest. And even though there's I think it's another thing with it being the NFL. You could see a lot of high school and in college has a lot of shotgun, but under center, I mean, defenses are so good. You got to do something else to keep them honest. And if you're just going gun every time, I think it makes it hard on the O-line. They're going to pin their ears back and get a lot of tough rushing and if you go under center, it really slows the rush down because they have to respect more the run factor.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
The Rewind Sports 60.
Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
Save much time running. Stafford looking through and the pass. It's going to be intercepted. The Bears get it back, and it's Kyle Fuller with a huge pickoff for Chicago in Lion territory. This is the 11th play of the drive, and the pass caught for the touchdown by Jimmy Graham. And the Bears finally get it done. It's like pulling teeth in the dentist chair, the way the Bears are trying to get their offense going today. But Jimmy Graham, they don't. And there's the rollout and the pass, and it's caught for the touchdown.
Or you just roll it out and throw it to Javon Lynch for an easy touchdown.
It could be one of them.
Yeah, exactly. You can do
one of 11 things that they could do, right? Stafford is going to get sacked. And I believe that's the first quarterback sack of the game, and it's Akeem Hicks. First down. And there's the long pass to Miller. And Miller is there. And it's a touchdown. Anthony Miller, who has made two brilliant catches today, does it again, and the Bears take the lead. 27-yard pass.
The guys were ready for it. We've been talking about it. They're excited to be able to enjoy a victory. To start out for us, our first time, and it sounds like 7 years that we started off 1-0. I'm just so happy for them. Our coaches were excited in there.
I don't know how to describe it. It's a little weird. I don't know if fury's the right word, but we definitely miss the fans, home or away. We want to get them back, but whenever it's safe to do that, it's definitely a huge part of football. But I think that just is another obstacle you got to overcome. You got to create your own energy for your team and for your offense. And I think our playmakers did that in the second half. We just gave them opportunities, and they went up and made plays.
I thought he did a really good job in the pocket in the first two quarters into the third. But what we were struggling with was the third downs, the dropbacks, and getting into those 3rd and 7 pluses. But our play action when he was in the pocket, he was pretty spot on. He did miss. I think he missed one dagger throw over the middle. And then Jimmy Graham, we had a couple that they're working through that connection there, but they're going to get that down. But
welcome everybody to the Rewind Sports 60. I'm your host, Lauren Cox, and we are broadcasting live from our WCPT studios in the beautiful city of Chicago. And we are so excited because we got a Bears win today. Phenomenally, the Bears came out, pulled it off at the final hour. They beat the Lions 27-23 to start off what has been an epic week in sports. This Thursday was the first day ever that the NFL, the MLB, the NBA, the WNBA, the MLS, the NHL, and the US Open all played on the same day. So we went from absolutely no sports to more sports that we could ever imagine. So we definitely want to get everyone involved. We want to hear your comments, thoughts, everything you need to say regarding the Bears and their win today. Give us a call. Again, fastest hour in sports. Our number is 773-763-9278. So I want to get right to it and bring in my wonderful esteemed panel. Dan, Marver, the marvelous one. What were your thoughts on that epic Bears win this Sunday?
Going into halftime, I was thinking Nick Foles, but after that, things got a little better. But you you talk about a lot of sports. Well, it was a red letter day because the Cubs won and the Sox won. The Cubs won 12-0, being a no-hitter, Alec Mills.
Absolutely.
And the Sox now have the best record in the American League, by the way, with a 5-2 win. So all the way around, I hope Thursday is the last time we ever have all those sports together on the same day because of the reason that they had to be played on the same day this year.
Absolutely.
But it's good. In the NFL, everything looked normal except for the empty stands. So and the production of the broadcast seemed fairly normal. So that's gone well so far. So we hope it continues.
Absolutely. And then I got to bring in the amazing Jerry Riles. Jerry, you had some thoughts on the Bears win and this epic sports week in general.
I did. I have maybe one thought.
What's that?
I have one thought.
Just one?
Yeah, just one. Thank God they won, Marvelous One. Thank God they won. You remember the White Sox? You talk about the White Sox, and congratulations to the best team in Chicago, baseball-wise. That, of course, being the Chicago White Sox on the South Side. But do you remember the White Sox, the 77 club with the South Side Hitman? Yeah, and the 83 club, that was the Winning Ugly club. Mm-hmm. That was today for the Chicago Bears, Winning Ugly. Are you kidding me? A win is a win, as they say, and you can only play who's on your schedule. And the Detroit Lions and Matthew Stafford were on the schedule for the Chicago Bears to open up the 2020 campaign. And, Lauren.
It was
by
tight.
the skin of our teeth.
Yes, absolutely. And then they let Adrian Peterson run up. I'm like, what? But we still prevailed.
I mean, going up to the Fuller interception, it was almost time to walk away and take a nap.
Yeah,
but it was over. But the Fuller interception turned things around.
It certainly did. Those highlights you heard to open up the fastest hour in sports conversation, Fox Sports courtesy, and of course Dick Stockton on the call there. It was a pretty interesting football game, to say the least. But Lauren, as you stated, and Marvelous, I certainly understand and I get it. But we've been talking about getting back to some sort of normalcy.
It was real normal for a minute, huh?
It was really, really just cool and refreshing to sit down on a Sunday afternoon after going to church and saying my Hail Marys and my novenas, to sit down at 12 o'clock high noon, turn on the tube, and watch some football on the National Football League level in 2020. It was just a breath of fresh air, and it was refreshing that we have football. The first... Oh, my God.
Right. I mean, it was different because there was no preseason. So it was like you hadn't really had time to evaluate the players or the teams, even in a practice session. Everything was behind a cloak and closed doors up till now.
And so that's why it was really, really exciting and really, really special to get an opportunity to finally get to see some real hardcore football. I was beside myself, and I'd love to hear from the both of you. But just to watch some college football yesterday, I seriously, Lauren, Marvelous. I had to pinch myself.
Yeah.
I literally had to pinch myself and say, are we really watching college football on Saturday afternoon? And then are we really watching pro football on Sunday afternoon?
Yeah.
I literally had to pinch myself.
Thursday, too. But and you speak about the college, a lot of the tournaments, a lot of the individual matches are being postponed because a lot of the players are coming down with COVID. I think Auburn's game is going to be you could see several games have to be postponed, which is inevitable.
Sure. I mean,
these college campuses.
The players live together, unlike the pros.
Yeah.
And these college campuses are just rampant with
the Petri
parties and I mean, wow, this is going to be interesting to see how they're going to finish this season.
No question about it. And if you want to join in, the Chicago Bears, they get a win 27-23 over the Detroit Lions and Matthew Stafford. Matt Nagy is 5-0 against the Detroit Lions. And, of course, Mitchell Trubisky, who got the start. And we'll get a chance to talk about him and his numbers, but he got the start, and he hasn't lost to the Detroit Lions either. Almost. He hasn't lost to them either. But a win is a win, as they say, and it was great that the Chicago Bears were able to kick off the 2020 season with the 27-23 victory on the road against the Detroit Lions. Very, very refreshing, and of course, it was great to hear those highlights. But again, had it not been for 21 points scored in the fourth quarter, we certainly will be crying in our beers and hanging our heads low. But before we do that, You mentioned all the sports that took place on Thursday, and talk about again kicking off the National Football League, Thursday Night Football. Two superior quarterbacks who are actually getting paid for their performance.
Yes, they are.
Oh man, that was just very, very refreshing just to see that. But you forgot about the female portion of sports and history-making performance that took place, the U.S. Open.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable.
Unreal.
Congratulations to her.
Yes, Naomi.
Congratulations to her.
She killed it. She was down so badly, and I was just like, okay, this is over. But you never want to count her out because she has that resilience that we just really haven't seen. I mean, it's just amazing. And for her to come from behind like she did, and she sent out a tweet saying that, her ancestors' blood runs through her veins, and don't ever count her out because of that. And obviously, she's been wearing masks to represent the people who were unjustifiably killed and murdered by the police, as well as Aubrey as well. And so, she's a powerhouse. She's a powerhouse. We all root for her, and she is, so young. Many more years to come and many more performances to come. But the way she pulled out that win was just, I couldn't believe it. Yeah. It was unbelievable.
It was fantastic to watch. And it's the thing that I love about her, she is of mixed race. She is of Japanese descent, and her father is Haitian descent, and she's just a beautiful young lady, 22 years of age. But what I love about her is the fact that she really has no expression.
Yeah.
I mean, she showed a little bit of emotion, during some of the crucial plays, the crucial, volleys back and forth. And of course, when she won, she let out of an exasperation, and, she showed a little bit more of emotion. But for the most part, this young lady is shy. She is just a doll. She's a sweetheart. And it's interesting because she reminds me of my daughter, who's 20 years of age at the University of Illinois. And when Naomi won, I actually took a picture and sent it down to my daughter because they seem like they're twins or whatever. But the young lady is just fantastic, and I love her mental state, Lauren. She talked about, of course, with her ancestors and everything, but she said when she was down 6-1 to Victoria, she said, hey, listen, it was all about me. I was fighting myself inside. And she said, it was about me changing my attitude. She says, I had to change my attitude. And that's what I worked myself through, and that's why I came away with my third U.S. Open title. So congratulations to the young lady, Marvelous.
She was down 6. She lost the first set 6-1.
Yeah, she
did. Victoria Azarenka, who, by the way, knocked Serena Williams out in the semifinals, who was a local favorite, obviously. And also on the men's side, it's quite interesting, too. They're still playing the finals match as we speak between Thiem and Zverev, however you pronounce that.
God bless you.
Yeah, right, bless me. But this might be the first time you didn't have Federer, Nadal, or Djokovic in the finals, in my memory, because 2 didn't show up and 1 got kicked out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you know what? I guess the judge regarding that was hitting the throat.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was inadvertent, but it hit her pretty hard.
It certainly did, and I think she was receiving some sort of like death threats or something, and said it was her fault. She was standing there. She was standing there. God bless her. But you know what? It is just a breath of fresh air once again to get an opportunity to get back to some sort of normalcy and sit down and watch some sports. Man, it's just really, really cool. And as Marvelous talked about, congratulations to Alec Mills for the Chicago Cubs with their 12-0 victory over the Milwaukee Brewers up in Milwaukee. The guy throws a no-hitter. A no-hitter. The first time a Cub no-hitter since 2016. That, of course, Jake Arrieta. I think it's the 19th no-hitter in Cub history. So congratulations to the guy. And what a hill that he's climbed to get to the point to where he is.
Walk on to Tennessee Martin.
Yeah.
In a normal year, I would have been there. And for the last 8 years, I've been in Milwaukee for almost every Cubs series.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember the last no-hitter the Cubs pitched there? It was against Houston, and when Houston was under a hurricane problem, and Zambrano did it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And Arrieta's had 2, but
Yeah. But congratulations to them. The Cubs improved to 28-20. They've been struggling over the past few weeks. Of course, Javi Baez has been struggling as well. It was just an interesting game watching it yesterday. And, of course, the Cubs, for some reason, seem to have gotten upset. They got mad, and they came out, and the bats exploded. The runs came across the plate.
Against Hader, of all people.
Exactly. Yeah. That was an interesting game because they what was it, 2 base hits, 2 home runs, and Jay Hay with a 3-run shot, I believe it was.
And lefty on lefty, which is usually, in many cases, you put in a righty there.
Exactly. So the Cubs, they woke up last night, and it carried over today, and they won it 12-0, improved their mark to 28-20 as we close in the final 2 weeks of baseball for the regular season. And we got two teams in the Chicago market that are in first place.
That's exciting.
The White Sox are exciting. There's no question about it. 30-16 with a 5-2 victory over the Detroit Tigers today. So all in all, as far as Chicago sports are concerned, the Bears, winners. Cubs, winners. Sox, winners. You're listening to WCPT 820 AM, the Rewind Sports 60. That means you're a winner as well. Do you want to jump in and give us a call? As Lauren told you, our number is 773. What is it again? 763-9278, 773-763 WCPT. It's the fastest hour in sports conversation. And real quick, as far as Mitchell Trubisky's performance is concerned, love to get both your feedback. We're going to get an opportunity, hopefully, to talk to the 10-year veteran, former Chicago Bear safety, known as the 17th letter in the alphabet, Q, Quentin Demps. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk with him before we're out of here because he loves Mitchell Trubisky. But Trubisky, 20 of 36, 242 yards and 3 touchdowns. Of course, the big quarter, the fourth quarter, the Bears scored 21 points after trailing 23-6. And it looked like Detroit and Matthew Stafford were going to run away with this one. But the Detroit Lions, they had some breakdown on the defensive side of the ball in the secondary, and Mitchell Trubisky and the Bears offense were able to capitalize, Lauren. What was your thoughts watching the first half and then watching the second half unfold as far as the Bears were concerned?
Well, the first half, the pressure was on Mitchell Trubisky, obviously. Everybody was looking at him really closely to see, okay, what are we working with and why in the world did they select him over Nick Foles to have that starting spot? So, as things went as they have gone in recent history with the Bears, you started to think, here we go again, another repeat of last season. And fortunately, he turned things around. He got out of the pocket a little bit, did some things that really showed, I think, something different than I've normally seen from him. A little bit, yeah, because generally they would have lost that game, I think.
Can you pinpoint something that you noticed differently this game compared to in the past with Mitchell Trubisky?
I think it's Nick Foles breathing down his neck. I think that's what's changed for him in terms of do or die. There is a second option, and he's standing right over there. So let me get it together and let me pull my resources and everything that he has at his disposal. Amazing defense. He had, was able to make some plays with some of his receivers as well as with the running backs as well, and the tight ends. Use your resources, use your weapons. And so he was able to do that in the final fourth quarter, turn that thing around, and we came home with the win.
Yeah, Anthony Miller, 4 of 76 for 19 yards and a big touchdown. Allen Robinson with a big catch, 5 receptions for 74 yards, 14.8 average on the day. So you're absolutely right as far as Mitchell Trubisky teaming up. And we can't forget teaming up with Jimmy Graham, also the tight end that this offense calls for, and a tight end that has been missing. And teaming up, Jimmy Graham is a great security blanket for Mitchell Trubisky, but he was, now keep in mind, it's not a top-tier defense as far as the Detroit Lions are concerned. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that Mitchell Trubisky had success.
And the O-line looked good, too.
Well, yeah, they did for the most part. Marvelous, what did you think?
I think the O-line did look good, but here's the thing that I noticed. Those 2 passes from the 2-yard line and the 1-yard line, it was really good touch to Wims and Graham. I don't think I've seen that kind of touch from him. And even that last pass to Miller for the winning touchdown was right over the defender. It was almost like, a perfect pass. And I haven't seen too many perfect passes like that from Trubisky in years past. So I think his touch was very good. And the offensive line helped tremendously. He was only sacked once, and he sort of was scrambling on that one. So, the O-line was big. and they really again had no running game to speak of. So
the Bears?
I mean, well, not tremendous. They had more than they usually do. What did Montgomery have, like 60 yards or
64 yards, 13 carries, 64 yards. Tariq Cohen, 7 carries for 41 yards. Both of them are averaging almost 5 yards per carry.
What would they normally do from the 1 and the 2 yard line in past years? They probably wouldn't pass. Is my point.
Yeah, here's the thing regarding my perspective on watching Mitchell Trubisky in this 27-23 victory. He didn't look consistent. You talk about the passes that he threw late in the game, and they look pinpoint. But if you watch earlier, there were a couple passes that he made that he was clearly behind the receiver or underthrew the receiver, and luckily he didn't come away with an INT in this football game. There was one pass. There were a couple passes that were actually batted down. And before the Weems touchdown where it was batted down in his face by a Detroit Lion corner, and had he held on to it, he had nothing but pay dirt. So Mitchell Trubisky looked a little bit inconsistent, and I do understand the fact that it is the first game of the regular season.
Right.
But what? And Q, hopefully he'll get a chance to join us. He and I were texting back and forth during the game, and he said that he was concerned about Mitchell Trubisky because he looked inconsistent, and he looked at his body language, and he said that Mitchell didn't seem confident. Yeah. And when you look at his mannerisms and the way that he carried himself on the football field, he really didn't. And that was kind of scary to me for the simple fact, as we watch the two quarterbacks that were passed over for Mitchell Trubisky on Thursday night, and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, you saw the enthusiasm and the excitement and the exhilarating feel.
You saw the money in their bank account.
Yeah, and maybe that's it. They're saying, hey, I got paid. I'm going out there just to let it all hang out and have fun. You watch Drew Brees, of course, after the Bears game, but we had a chance to watch a little bit of Drew Brees and Tom Brady, and I just saw the fire in their eyes. I saw leaders on a football field directing their players, directing their teammates, and saying, we're going to take charge. Now, albeit Tom Brady threw 2 interceptions after rushing for his first touchdown as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer in the game against the Saints. Last time I heard, the Saints were up 17-7.
34-17 with 4 minutes left.
But the point that I'm trying to make is the fact that I did not see that fire in Mitchell Trubisky's eyes. I did not see that fire in his demeanor. And Lauren, you make a point. Nick Foles is breathing down this kid's neck. And to me, he did not react in a way that he felt like, hey, I got to let it all hang out here. Now, there's more to come. There's no question about it. And he was able to get things together in that fourth quarter. But if Mitchell Trubisky, and here's the thing, this is what's scary to me. It really is scary. And they didn't have training camp or anything like that, correct? We just watched Mitchell Trubisky. The guy 20 of 36 for 242 yards and 3 touchdowns. If the competition between Nick Foles and Mitchell Trubisky was that close that they couldn't really make a decision, and remember that Matt Nagy said we're going to sit everybody in a room, we're going to watch all the tape, and we're going to watch everything we have to before we make a decision. If it was that close between these two guys, Chicago Bear fans, you guys sitting down, you girls sitting down, you think this game was ugly and we got to win? It's going to be, and if the pandemic doesn't stop it, it's going to be a long-ass season. Because if Mitchell Trubisky is the starting quarterback because they couldn't make a decision because it was too close in the competition, what the hell are they saying about Nick Foles? Come on, man. Help me out here.
Hey, we won, Jerry. Dang. Let me put some positivity on this thing.
Okay. Just to change the
subject. Lauren.
Gosh.
Jerry, just to change the subject, shouldn't be lost that Cairo Santos made the 2 field goals and 2 extra points in a 4-point win.
And listen, you know what? And I told you, I went to church. I said my Hail Marys. I said my novenas. I said a couple novenas for our guy, Eddie Pinheiro, who's out with the groin. He's 3 weeks out.
We need him.
Hey, I don't know if we need him, Lauren.
We don't
hey, Lauren, he may be on the sideline.
Well,
He may be. Hey, he's on the sideline now.
Right.
He might be on the real sideline.
Jeez.
This kid. Wow. What did you think of him?
He did what he needed to do today. There was one point in time where they didn't want him to do a long field goal, which is kind of typical of Nagy. Early in the game, when they went for it on fourth down, it would have been a 50-something yard field goal. But the shorter ones he made, and that's important in a 4-point win, obviously.
No,
Yeah.
it is. And I did think of Eddie Pinheiro, and I hope that he's fine. And for some reason, it seemed like that's what Chicago is all about. It's about competition. We can never, ever just sign, seal, deliver a starter. And that's the other point I want to get across is the fact that,
That's crazy.
again, I mentioned Deshaun Watson. I mentioned Patrick Mahomes. I mentioned Drew Brees. I mentioned Tom Brady, Lamar Jackson. What's his numbers that he had today? Here's the deal. Those teams, those franchises, they look at their leader, their signal caller, and they feel confident, and they go, okay, we got somebody we can go to bat with. We got somebody we can go out there.
Yeah.
Cam Newton.
Jackson was
He
only
won today.
Jackson was only 20 of 25 for 275 yards today.
Guys, here, I don't know about you two, and share with me. Here's the deal with our guy. And I'm not trying to beat him up, Lauren. I'm not trying to beat him up, but I'm just saying.
I can't tell.
I'm just saying. I said I feel nervous, and let me know if you guys felt the same way. It felt to me like we were still supporting a rookie quarterback.
Oh, God.
We were praying for a rookie quarterback to have some success. Not a guy in his third or fourth year, right?
Right.
Not that guy. To me, it felt like he was a rookie, and you were pulling for this rookie to have some success.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you got guys who came in the league the same time as he came in the league. You got guys who came in after he came in the league. You got guys who've been here. They're the elder statesmen as far as the league is concerned, and they were leading their teams. They were showing fire. They were showing determination to win. Meanwhile, I'm sitting at home in the Hall of Fame room going, wow, I felt like I was cheering for a rookie.
Yeah.
What about you?
Also, too, I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on the defense, too, because Adrian Peterson, he had 94 yards on 14 carries.
And they just signed him.
So it speaks to what you were saying in terms of the Bears in their thought process when they're looking at bringing in talent. He was available. And we don't even want to touch the quarterback conversation because it's like everybody who they possibly could have had a chance to take, they're doing phenomenally well, except for us. And then they tried to do a Hail Mary and bring in Nick, and that whole experiment hasn't worked out particularly well, in my opinion, seeing as though I thought he was going to run away with it and be the starter, be named the starter. So questionable.
Yeah. Well, Peterson looked pretty good for a 35-year-old. He got 93 yards today.
Yeah, he looked very, very good, and he looked deadly. And think about it, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going commercial free in the fastest hour of sports conversation here at the Rewind Sports 60, WCPT 820 AM, our Sunday Bears post game show. If you want to join us, our number is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Here's the scary thing about it. Lauren, you said that, hey, we won. Take it easy, Jerry. Lay off of them. Give them a break. Listen. Marvelous. We're 11 seconds from crying in our beer. If Swift makes the catch in the end zone, if he makes a catch in the end zone and don't drop it, the Bears lose this football game.
Right. They had a chance to win it after we took the lead. Absolutely.
They lose this football game against Detroit. Now, the only reason I think we lost the football game, that's one, because this guy drops the football, but two, last year, the Detroit Lions, they lost how many games? 7 games, I think, in the second half.
Right.
They were up like they were today, and they end up losing 7 games in the last half, the last frame, the last quarter. In 2018, I think it was somewhere around 11 games that they lost. So they have a way of self-destructing.
Yeah.
They don't play a complete 60 minutes of football, that being the Detroit Lions and their coaching staff. So the Bears had to hang on. But it's not, they got a lot of work to do, Lauren, in my opinion. They have a lot of work to do.
Now look at our schedule. So they play the Giants next.
Falcons.
The Falcons. the Colts. You know, we can win all those games now. October
Wait a minute. What are you drinking over there? What are you drinking over there? I want some.
Let me finish. October 8th, we got a major problem coming in October 8th, okay? So, you know, let's see what they do. We know they're going to win next week, pretty much.
Really? How do we know that? What did the Giants do, Marvelous?
Jones. I mean, yeah, they're
They
going to
play this tomorrow night against the Steelers.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Hey, Lauren.
Atlanta ain't doing nothing. The Colts, you know.
Wait a minute. What is wrong with you? What are you drinking over there?
What? we got a chance.
Based
we
on
have
what?
a chance to be, because these teams are not blockbuster teams.
And we are.
Well,
we are.
Let's put some
Here's
positivity
the deal.
behind the Bears.
No, I want to put some positivity. I want to put some positivity behind the Bears.
Colts have Phillip Rivers now, by the way.
Yeah, but I want to be. Here's the deal.
Not today.
Lauren, I want to put some positivity behind the Bears win. I do. I want to do that.
Please do.
But our defense is supposed to be our strong point. Right?
Don't go there.
Where was Chuck Pagano? Help me out here. Where was Chuck Pagano?
Where was he last season? I mean,
where was Chuck Pagano today? Where was he? I mean, because our defense looked like it was Darrell Bevel. The guy, he was calling plays left and right, just dissecting our Bears defense left and right. That's unacceptable.
It is.
That is unacceptable. And this is the game tape that you're going to put out for the Giants to dissect for next week. Mm-hmm. You put this tape out there for these guys to take a look at and say, this is what we do. And here's the problem. The defense. They're going to play much better. There's no question about it. Mm-hmm. But the point of the matter is, if Mitchell Trubisky doesn't step up his game, not one notch, not two notches, but three notches, you cannot have that defense of the Chicago Bears out on that football field 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 37 minutes. You cannot have them out there on the football field like that, because they are going to run out of gas.
That's not right.
They're going to get gas. And a good offensive team is going to come in, a good offensive quarterback is going to come in and dissect the Bears defense the way that they've been doing over the past few years. So, with the exception of the 12-4 year. But the point of the matter is, Mitchell Trubisky has to be a better game manager. Yeah. And Matt Nagy has to be a better signal caller. And from what we have seen after one game, albeit it's one game during a pandemic era, there's still some work to be done.
Oh, yeah.
And if their goal is to get to the Super Bowl, the only thing they have to do is take a look at that Kansas City Chiefs team, and they didn't play their best football on Thursday night. But they look like a machine operating, moving the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Now, their quarterback is the MVP of the Super Bowl, and I get all of that. But if that's what you're modeling yourself after, you're a long, long ways off, in my opinion. You're a long ways off.
It's scary.
Just made me think how Foles was an MVP of a Super Bowl, too.
Yes, Foles, that's right. And you know what? I got to give credit. I don't know if it was one of the NFL experts on ESPN last week that said the Bears, first of all, they had no choice but to make Mitchell Trubisky their starting quarterback, because, of course, they put all their eggs in this kid's basket, and they're going to give him every ounce of opportunity to succeed. I said this last week. They have to give him every opportunity to succeed. And I'm going to tell you guys, the smoke and mirrors is what we just saw today. These 21 points the Bears put up in the fourth quarter today, smoke and mirrors. It is smoke and mirrors. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Mitch Trubisky is not the type of quarterback that you think that he is just because the Bears escaped with a victory against the Detroit Lions, and he had the success, i.e., so to speak, that he had today. Smoke and mirrors. But if the Bears are trying to get to the next level, that, of course, deep in the playoffs and, of course, to the Super Bowl, they need to take the tape from Kansas City and just watch what happened against the Texans on Thursday night, and how that offense operated and how their quarterback operated, and work toward trying to get to that level. Today, it didn't reflect any of that, in my opinion. If you think that it did, if you think that the Bears are on their way, 16-0. Our number here, 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. We go out to our TR60 hotlines, ladies and gentlemen. He laced them up as a beloved number 51 in your program. He's Bruce Heron in our heart. He's on our TR60 hotline. Bruce, how are you, man? Welcome back to the Rewind Sports 60, man. What was your thoughts on the Bears' victory? Hey, Super Bowl 16-0. Bruce, what do you think?
Hey, man, we're going straight to the NFC Championship game.
That'll boy!
Hey.
That'll boy!
That's what I'm talking about.
There you go.
See?
Hey, man, the Bears. Hey, as we talk about, a win is a win, and you just have to play who's ever on your schedule. They happen to be the Detroit Lions and the Bears. Matt Nagy is 5-0 against them. Mitchell Trubisky hasn't lost to the Detroit Lions. And the Bears are trending in the right direction, man. 27-23, 21 points in the fourth quarter. What did you think of the Bears' performance this afternoon?
Well, you know what? I am thrilled. Trust me, I'm thrilled for the win. But you know, that was a gift horse, man. I mean, they had Detroit had an opportunity to put that game away at the end of the game, and guy couldn't hold on to the ball. We made some mistakes. We made some mistakes throughout the game defensively, and you know, the first half, man, Mitch he was not impressive at all. The fourth quarter, he came through and made some nice throws, and receivers looked like they woke up and helped him out. But for the most part, I'm happy. Trust me, I am happy. I'm thrilled as all get out. But it left a little to be desired. So.
Hey, man, I wanted to ask before you got on. I talked about the Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and Tom Brady and Drew Brees. Of course, those teams squared off in the late game on Sunday. And of course, you talk about the two young guys that just got paid, and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. When I talk about those fours, and even Lamar Jackson today, and Cam Newton with the New England Patriots, but when I talk about those caliber of athletes, those caliber of NFL quarterbacks, today and on Thursday, I saw some fire in their eyes. I saw them being demonstrative on the field and on the sideline. I saw them yelling and screaming, and spit shouldn't be coming out their mouth because of the pandemic and everything, but the spit was flying out their mouth, man. They were geeked up. When we looked at our guy, at least when I looked at our guy, and Mitchell Trubisky, good old number 10 for the beloved Chicago Bears, I saw a kid that I thought he was like a rookie, and I was sitting on a doofo in the Hall of Fame room, man, and I felt like I was cheering for a rookie, hoping that he had a good, that he survived. Am I the only one that felt like that, man? What did you think? What did you think when you saw his eyes in the huddle and saw his demeanor on the sideline? Did he give you that encouragement that he's going to lead us to victory?
Well, no. But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. You gotta look at the whole picture, and when you put the whole package together, and it's the coaches. The coaches, when it comes to a quarterback, the offensive coordinator and the head coach, they have direct contact and communication with the quarterback. And that quarterback tends to take on the
characteristics,
the mood and the mentality of the coach. And trust me, I'm not trying to take up for Mitch, but I just think that there's more that's at stake here, and there's more of a problem than just Mitch. I mean, the first three quarters, Mitch was Mitch. The fourth quarter, he came out and he was just a different guy. How do you explain that? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Well, Bruce,
it's puzzling, but I'm telling you, the Bears playing Detroit and squeaking by with the win there's no way in the world they can get to an NFC championship game or division championship.
Well, yes, sure there is. The only way they can do it is if they can buy some tickets, just like hopefully the rest of us can buy some tickets. That's the only way they're going, Bruce Heron. We're on with good old number 51, Bruce Heron, played with the beloved for 5 years in the greatest city in the world, that of course Chicago, Illinois. Here's the deal. Part of the reason that Mitch Trubisky had the success that he had, Bruce, and I think you can attest to this, is the fact that the Lions, they had a depleted unit. They didn't have all their starting guys on that defensive side of the ball, so Mitchell Trubisky and Matt Nagy were able to take advantage of that. And I said it was smoke and mirrors and fool's gold as far as this win is concerned, but a win is a win.
Right. Well, you know what? There's one thing about the Detroit Lions, and they've had this stigma for a long time. I mean, years, that they shoot themselves in the foot all the time. I mean, there have been years where the Detroit Lions have had the talent to win the division and go deep into the playoffs, but they always find a way to just blow it. And boy, did they blow it today when that guy dropped that ball in the end zone.
Swift.
That was tough.
Yeah. I mean, Swift drops.
But the Detroit Lions have a tendency to do things like that. And, you know, I don't know what it's going to take to get them over the hump. I've always been a big fan of Detroit. You, of course, think of my Chicago Bears. But, you know, there have been years, man, where the Lions have had some damn good talent and just could not get over the hump. So today was another one of those examples.
Hey, Bruce, Lauren here. I just wanted to switch gears a bit. Hey, and ask you, I don't know if you got a chance to check out the game Thursday, the Chiefs versus the Texans. So they came together in a moment of unity, and the Kansas Chiefs fans actually booed the players while they came together in that moment of unity. And J.J. Watt basically said he didn't understand that. What were your thoughts when you heard about the fans booing and J.J. Watt's response to it?
Well, you know what? I wholeheartedly agree with J.J. Watt because I couldn't understand it either. I could not understand it. And you know what? It's just an example of what Donald Trump has done to this country. And, you know, I'm telling everybody, anybody that's listening, whether you agree with my politics or not, that this is one America. We're all in this thing together. When 9/11 happened, I'm telling you, for months, we all came together. There was less crime in the streets. There was unity. It didn't make any difference whether we were black or brown or purple or green. It didn't make any difference. You know what? We were all hurting. And absolutely devastated and shocked. And we came together as a country. We always need to do that, even though our politics don't always match each and every one of us. You know, we can't let a guy like Trump come in and divide us like that. That is just asinine. It is absolutely asinine. You know, it just makes me sick. It makes my heart hurt when I see how this guy has it's us against them, those Democrats, those liberals, those this, those that. I mean, are you kidding me? We're all Americans. I mean, this is the United States of America, the greatest country in the world. We got to kill it, leading the damn thing. That's stupid. Get rid of the butthole. I don't give a damn if he's a Republican, Independent, or Democrat, or something else. Somebody with a brain, with half a brain. You know what? A squirrel would be better than Donald Trump.
All right. Put a squirrel in there.
Tell us how you really feel.
Wow.
I love it.
Hey.
Oh my God.
Hey, man, Bruce. Let me tell you something. I didn't know what kind of day I was going to have today, and I knew it was going to be a glorious day, an exciting day, and I knew the Bears were going to bring some good attention one way or the other to my day, but I never expected or anticipated you say a squirrel would be better in the White House than the guy that we had. I didn't even.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Hey, listen to this. I've got one of my very closest friends. His name is Tom Shapento. Now, Tom is from Iowa. He grew up in Iowa. You know, I always call him my corn-fed redneck from Iowa. But you know what? This guy has got a heart of gold.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a heart of gold, and he lays it out there. He understands. He truly understands, and tries to understand the plight of the black man, and how we came to be, and the struggles that we've had through. You know, I can't tell you how many hundreds of years.
Sure.
And he's very sympathetic to it. And we talk about politics on a regular basis. And you know, he says some pretty vulgar and rough things about Donald Trump. But you know what? He wears his feelings on his sleeve, and he understands. He's very, very supportive. You know, I just wish people would take the time to try to understand how we came to be, how our ancestors came to be, and the strife that we all had to go through in order to get to where we are today.
Well, you know what, Bruce Herron? And we appreciate you joining us on the Fastest Hour Sports Conversation, the Rewind Sports 60. I got to share with you, Lauren Cox, and of course the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and everyone that's listening. The world as we know it it's over. The world is ended. It's done. It's over. And I don't mean to alarm you out there. I don't mean to get you all ruffled. I'm just telling you what the truth is. And the reason I make that statement and I say that it's the truth is because I'm blessed. We're blessed to be in the greatest city in the world, in my opinion. But I live in the neighboring suburbs here in Wheeling. And the reason I say the world is coming to an end, it's over with, because they were the Trumpsters were on Milwaukee Avenue and Dundee Road in Wheeling protesting today.
Protesting what?
I don't know, Lauren. I asked the Marvelous when I said, "Hey, is the president coming to town? Why are they out there?" I had no idea why they were out there.
What were they protesting?
I have no idea. That's why I said the world is coming to the end. Because if they're going to protest in Wheeling, it's over. I had no idea. I go, wait, did I miss the memo? Is he coming to town? What happened? What's going on? It's unbelievable.
I'm gonna tell you this much. I'll tell you this much. I can tell you right now why they're protesting. Because they see Donald Trump getting his butt waxed till November 3rd.
Hey.
And you know what? The guy, dude, don't get me started. I mean,
all right.
Don't get me started.
Hey, man.
You know what? I'm a country boy from South Texas. You know, and I understand. I grew up, man. My grandparents, my great grandparents, you know, we used to have conversations. They had a conversation with me about you know how they came to be and about the land that the family owned and all this stuff. And I'm telling you something, man. It was a true struggle, and you know it helped me to understand that as I grow and get older and raise my family, I have to continuously educate them on where I came from, how I came to be, so that they have a clear understanding of how important it is that they keep the family structure moving forward.
Mark?
And, you know, white folks don't have to do that shit. We have to do that.
See?
We have to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not talking about white people because, you know, I'm going to sound a little white, but some of my best friends are white.
Stop it. Stop it.
Me too.
Stop it. Marvelous, what are your comments?
Well, it's gonna be an election of 51 days, and it's either gonna be the guy that you just mentioned or his opponent, Punxsutawney Joe. So I don't know. Either way, it's going to be a problem, I think.
Well, you know what? At the end of the day, what you call him?
Punxsutawney Joe. Think about
it. I don't even want to get into it. And Lauren brings up a great question. The fact that we're all in this together, and the one reason I love sports is the fact that. For 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 3.5 hours, or whatever the sport may be, we all can come together collectively, and we can root for our beloved Bears. I know television sets all around the city of Chicago were turned on at 12 o'clock noon on Fox 32 locally to watch the Chicago Bears take on the Detroit Lions. And the only allegiance that we have is that we support, for the most part, our teams.
Right.
As far as baseball is concerned, you got the north side and the south side, but the fact that and hopefully we'll see the World Series with both those clubs in it. So Cubs, they got to pick it up because the White Sox are going. It's called Jackmaster Funk over on the south side. As far as Jackmaster Funk, I mean, Jose Abreu is just jacking the ball all over the place. It's unbelievable. But the point of the matter is, sports.
You got Abreu and all that young talent.
Unbelievable.
Oh my goodness, man.
Let's just hope Ricky Renteria don't screw it up. But here's the deal.
Beautiful sight.
Sports brings us together, and when Lauren said, and J.J. Watt said, hey, you know what? It doesn't make any sense for people to boo unity. It makes no sense to boo unity because at the end of the day, and you're absolutely right, Bruce, when you talk about 9/11, George Bush was was in office, and he was a Republican. I'm not a Republican, and I wasn't a big fan of his. But when 9/11 occurred, you're absolutely right.
It didn't matter.
We all came together, and we said, "Hey," and I want to cuss like you, but I'm saying we all came together, say, and what did Big Papi say? What did Big Papi say? What did Big Papi say when they had the marathon? He said, "You don't F with us," and that's what Americans did on 9/11. You don't F with us. You don't do it, and the same applies, man. Hey, listen, politics is politics. It's healthy, it's needed, and it's good. But when it becomes abused, and it's one-sided at times, but when it becomes abused, that it's dividing us as a people, and it's getting down to literally, people claiming lives. That's overboard. It's overboard.
Okay,
so
I'm gonna tell you something. I am totally convinced that this guy that's sitting in the White House right now, his whole intent is to peel this country apart, leaf by leaf, layer by layer, and just destroy us. That's it. There's nothing else that I can say. This I haven't been alive long enough to understand or to picture anybody in that leadership position that has been so destructive to the people in this country. And I'm talking about black, Hispanic, white, Asian, you name it. This guy is just, it's not, trust me, y'all, it's not about black and white. It's not about Republican, Democrat. We've got different views about how things should be run and all this and that. But the truth of the matter is that we are all one people.
That's it.
We're all one people.
That's it.
And you know what? And just because the color of my skin is black doesn't mean I'm any less than you are. I'm striving to do the same things that you are, and that is to raise my family, give them the best education I possibly can, and watch them mature and grow. While I get older.
And you're right.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. And Bruce, I very well said, and I don't mean to make light of it, but at the end of the day, We all just want to get paid like Patrick Mahomes. We all just want to get paid.
That's right.
Hey,
right.
Bruce Herron, thank you so very much for joining us and taking time on this Bears post game show. We really appreciate it, man. We'll be talking with you next week, and let's hope the Bears can put together another victory against the New York Giants, my good friend.
Go Bears.
You're the best. We'll talk to you. Bruce Herron on our TR60 hotline. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the fastest hour in sports conversation. Lauren, before we get out of here, any last thoughts or words?
Well, excited about the NBA Finals. Had some interesting games.
They're not going to cheat, are they?
No cheating in the bubble.
They're not going to cheat for that guy.
No cheating in the bubble. You know
You
LeBron
sure?
was killing it
They
fair and
ain't
square.
going to cheat for him, man, are
Undeniable.
they?
He don't need nobody to cheat for him.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
Marvelous.
You're right. You got the Lakers advance, and you got Boston and Miami, and then they're going to have a Game 7 Clippers and Nuggets.
Yeah.
So those are the teams left in the NBA. Should be interesting.
Hey, thanks to both of you for a fabulous fast hour sports conversation. Bears post game show every Sunday. This 20. Hopefully we can get through this season. Of course, thanks to our esteemed producer. He is the one, the only Devin Tingle. Jerry Riles, folks. Have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll see you on Comcast on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Channel 17, Channel 19, Channel 35. And, of course, check us out on Facebook, YouTube, all the social media platforms. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next Sunday after a Bear victory. Go Bears!
The preceding program, the Rewind Sports 60, is sponsored by Jerry Riles and to the extent applicable, his guests.
Another question for you. We just had a caller who called in, Rick, and he talked about the NBA protesting, and he said that he wished that they could protest in another way. And I wanted to ask him, and I didn't get a chance to, but I'll pose it to you. What way would be comfortable, or what do you think, if you have any thoughts on ways that you think that the players should protest?
So what do they protest?
Injustice, an African-American man getting shot 7 times in the back, and a gazillion others that get shot all the time, unjustifiably by the police.
Do you think it's unjustified? I don't know, guys. I mean, you're talking about something now that you're pulling this out of the air. You don't know the circumstances. I don't know the circumstances. I don't agree with shooting anybody. But I don't know. I don't know how you would say it is right or wrong or otherwise. The police have a job to uphold law and order. That's their job. Now, do they make mistakes? Yes, they do. But I think if you look at the percentages, they do a pretty good job.
Coach, here's what the whole issue is. All right. Here's why the protestings are going on. Here's why players are boycotting. Here's why not only in the National Football League, Major League Baseball, the NBA, and of course, the National Hockey League, soccer, the whole 9 yards. It's the fact that there are things that are occurring. Now, there are 75% of African American or minorities playing in the National Football League. 75% of the players in the NBA are African American or minority men. So they are the ones who are getting very well paid as far as what they're doing because of their talents and their skill set. But the other 99% of us, we got to earn a living, and we got to find a way to do that. So when the circumstances are not presented to you on a plain, even level playing field, and in some cases they end in death, the 1% that has made it out, the less than 1%, are saying, hey, you know what? We got to do something here because for the grace of God, there go I. And that's the problem, Coach. These players who are making the money that they're making and on the stage and the platform that they're on are saying, hey, you know what? We have to represent the people who have not made it, who are still struggling. And this is a way for us to get our point across, get our message across. And for anyone who does not see that or understand that, it lends to bring about some pain. And that's the problem that these players have and the community as a whole have with management, people in authority, and people who make decisions aren't meeting at the table to try to come up with a solution.
Well, you're probably right. There's some things you said there are probably right. I mean, I think they should work hard enough to. Pro sports is a tremendous thing. It pays a lot of people a lot of money, It's good for a lot of people. Enjoy it. You have a God-given talent. Not everybody has the talent to dribble a basketball, shoot a basketball, catch a football, or hit a baseball. You got a talent. Thank God for it. Enjoy it. And do it in peace.
No, so Coach, here's the deal. And I love you on with the great Coach Mike Dicker of your Super Bowl winning Chicago Bears, the 85 Bears, Super Bowl 20. Coach, here's the deal. You are an advocate. You are out front for the retired players who can't take care of themselves because of the game of football. You are very outspoken in those players who can't speak for themselves, who either literally can't talk, their mental CTE, their mental capacity has diminished considerably, their bodies are broken down, and you're out front saying, listen, we need to take care of these guys because this sport has given us the livelihood that we have today. But unfortunately, there are players in the past, in your era, before your era, and after your era, who financially aren't prepared. They can't take it. Physically, they're breaking down. And you want to make sure that things are done right and properly for those guys because they paved the way. And that's what these athletes in this protest and these boycotts are doing. They said, listen, it's beyond us now. This is our community. What do you say to that? Because you're doing the same thing.
I'm not saying they're right or wrong. Listen to me. I don't know what they are, right or wrong. I know that they have a right to dignity. Everybody has a right to dignity. And if they don't think they're getting dignity, then you got a right to protest. But you make a lot of money, guys. You're making a lot of money. You can't make that kind of money doing anything else. You cannot make the kind of money you make in sports doing anything else.
No. Yeah, I agree.
Then I said it. That's it.
Okay.
So, be grateful. Enjoy the opportunity. You got. Thank God. Every day when you wake up, thank God. Hey, man, I got great talent. I'm using them. I'm making a lot of money. I can take care of my family. Enjoy it.
Hey, Coach, this is Dan in the studio. Before your battery goes dead, I wanted to ask you quickly about the kneeling. I assume you feel the same way, that they have a right to...
I don't think it's right. I think it's a privilege to live in this country. I think our flag is a symbol of freedom and opportunity and all the good things. And I think that I don't know why. The kneeling thing I don't understand, so I really shouldn't comment on it.
No, I understand, Coach, and that's the problem here, because we all, you live in this country, you've grown up, learning the national anthem and our pledge of allegiance to the flag and all of that stuff. But Coach, here's the difference here. Here's the big difference, and this is why we wanted to have you on to get your thoughts and get your perspective on what's affecting not only this great city that we live in, but this country that we live in and the world that we live in, Coach. And those players that you talked about, you had some fantastic players on that Super Bowl team, whether it's Walter Payton, Willie Gault, Mike Singletary, Otis Wilson. But listen, Coach, here's what we want you to understand and want others to understand, that as an African American man living in this country, playing in the greatest game in the world, in my opinion, playing professional sports and all the money that you make, at the end of the day, you still walk out of your door every single day as a black man, and you have to wonder what kind of racism I'm going to experience today because of the color of my skin. And that's the problem, Coach. The great Walter Payton.
Okay.
Coach.
I hear you.
Coach. So here's
that's the problem.
So how do we do it? Because, Coach, you don't help. You didn't help the situation, Coach. And I love you to come on with us. But you didn't help the situation when you said, if you don't like this country, get the hell out of it. You didn't help. Oh, he hung up?
Oh, did we lose him?
Devin, call him back.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast by yours truly and the honorable, the incredible Dr. Chaz Fedorowicz. Check in 3, 2, one. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast hosted by yours truly, Jerry Riles, and, of course, the Honorable Dr. Chad Pedrolis. Doc, how are you?
Having a great day, Jerry. Thanks. How about you?
I'm doing very well, and I got to tell you, I am ecstatic, I'm excited, as well as many others across the country, that we have some college and, as important, some pro football after watching the Kansas City Chiefs and the Houston Texans square off at Thursday Night Football to open up the 2020 NFL season. College football is just phenomenal to get an opportunity to sit down in the lazy boy and watch some competitive sports taking place. And hopefully we can continue this on, considering the pandemic and, coronavirus and COVID-19. But it's fantastic. And, of course, we got two baseball teams who are currently in first place as we go down the stretch. Dog days of summer, as they say, September, and hopefully we'll have two teams in the playoffs as far as Major League Baseball is concerned. And I'm praying, Doc, I'm hoping maybe if the coast is clear, we get two Chicago teams battling for the World Series. So I'm doing good so far, as well as everyone around the country, I believe. Your response?
Yeah, honestly, I'm mostly just glad they're all healthy.
Well, I didn't mean to stun you or startle you with my excitement and my enthusiasm that competitive sports is back on television, but you're absolutely right. Again, with this pandemic taking place, the numbers have been fluctuating all across the board regarding the country, whether you're in the East Coast or the Midwest where we are, or the South or the West. Independently, the respective states, you can see the numbers going up and down. And I can say here in Illinois, I think for the most part, we've been doing fairly well. And let's hope that we can keep the numbers, leveled off. And we got the flu season coming up, Doc. So phase 2, as they've been talking about for the past 3 or 4 months, could be very, very serious regarding this pandemic. Foremost, you being in the medical industry and monitoring everything that's going on, how do you see this upcoming flu season with the coronavirus?
I think it's going to be fine. I think that, they're finding cross immunogenicity between a lot of these viruses. So just as the common cold results in some cross immunogenicity to COVID-19, I think it's going to be fine. I think that I think that people in general, particularly with the way this whole thing was represented when it started off, I think are in a little bit of a mindset to fear the worst. But I think the fear of the situation is far worse than the reality. And I don't think the fall is going to be bad either. I don't think the flu season is going to be bad.
Well, I hope you're right. And, in the world of sports, I think we can say, kudos to, the major league teams, whether it's the NBA in the bubble down in Orlando, whether it's the National Football League, who have tested, I believe, 64,000 players over an extended period of time, I think since the early part of August, and they've only reported 5 positive cases. Major League Baseball had a bump in the road, but they seem to have leveled off. We see what's going on in the National Hockey League being up in Canada. And, of course, Major League Soccer have been able to maintain things as well. So I think if the respective leagues continue to stay on top of this, we can overcome it. And, the universities, they've experienced some bumps as far as numbers elevating around the country as particular universities. But they're trying to get a grasp on that as well. But all in all, I think if we do our respective responsible part and, just do the basic, wash your hands, wear the mask, practice social distancing 6 feet apart, I think definitely we can, clear this hurdle, overcome this obstacle, and, hopefully better days are coming. We get back to some sort of normalcy. I talked about the college football season getting underway. We know that there are some conferences around the country. The Big Ten, the Pac-12 have elected not to to play, but there are other conferences that say, hey, we're going to move forward, we're going to continue to play, and we're going to protect our athletes. And we've seen some performances over the past week or so on a collegiate level. But there's also a case that was reported where I believe an offensive lineman out west, unfortunately in California, succumbed. And correct me if I'm wrong with the details, COVID related, which sent some red flags up around the country and around the college football world. Can you expound a little bit on that?
Yeah, I've looked at it, and as I say in all these cases, I have no inside information. All I know is what I read, and what is written is limited. So I really want to be careful not to make any inferences about things we don't know. But what has been reported repeatedly, it's a young man whose name is in the news. It's Jermaine Stevens, or Steffens, Stephen's, I think, said to be the son of a lineman with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think from the 90s. Right. And he goes to a college called the Division II school called, I believe, the California University of Pennsylvania. And what was written is that he was a defensive lineman and was listed at 6'3" and 355. Beyond that, I don't know information about comorbidities, pre-existing conditions. I don't know if he is one of the, it is said 6% of the people who died only from coronavirus are part of the 94% that died from that something else. I don't know any of that. I do know that among the risk factors, as is widely written, there's hypertension, there's diabetes, there's being heavy. So I don't know if his stats are what was listed online, but at 6'3" and 355 is a BMI of about 44. Now you can have a big BMI and be very muscular, and have a low body fat. But normal BMI is said to be less than 25, overweight 25 to 30, obese 30 to 35 usually, morbidly obese 35 to 40. Now by that criterion, most competitive football players are obese and they're not, because they're muscular. Having said that, 6'3" and 355 is pretty big. People that are heavier have a higher incidence of autoimmune problems. So, he clearly has one risk factor. And I don't know the circumstances. Sure. And I don't want to speculate. We've talked about this before. I do think, though, as I mentioned before, that I would like to see. So I think people should be playing to begin with, but among the people that are playing, I just think it's incumbent upon all the programs to do their darndest to protect the people who have risk factors. So I don't know his circumstance, but I feel badly. He clearly has one at least. And I mentioned a few weeks ago, of all the athletes in all the sports, what I'm most fearful of is football, because it's really the only sport among men, at least, where it's common to find people, often the linemen, that are heavy and have risk factors based on that. And so I just think that it's really important that we get a handle on that. And if we think somebody has risk factors, I don't think there's anything wrong with letting the team play, but talk to people who have risk factors and say, look, we need to protect you. It's our obligation. Let people know and give them an opportunity to not play. Maybe even have some parameters around playing because people, these young guys will play no matter what. They're all pretty gung-ho. And sometimes, kind of with what I do, for orthopedics, we'll get people that are banged up, beat up, bad joints, and want to play. And we have to say, look, for your own good, we maybe need to pull in the reins a little.
Well, you know what? And this is the Sports Medicine Update, the weekly podcast with Dr. Chad Fedromas. Doc, from a medical perspective, I think you're right on point, and I think that sounds very good, very smart, and it's about staying healthy and protecting individuals. But on the other side of it, Doc, unfortunately, when you talk about these athletes, particularly playing football on a collegiate level and, of course, in the National Football League, we do know that a majority of these players are African American or Hispanic descent, Black and brown players. And we do know, and you can attest to this, as far as the genetic makeup, so to speak, they're more highly susceptible to these preconditioned, pre-existing conditions, whether it's diabetes or hypertension, or whatever the case may be. So they automatically go into this, athletics with a red flag, because just as an African American male myself, I know that I run a higher risk of getting diabetes or hypertension or high blood pressure, just because of my makeup. So now when you start to implement and say, hey, listen, you run a higher risk of getting this, and of course with Corona or with the virus, when you put it on charts, it doesn't look really good for you. So we're going to ask you not to participate in this, because you run a higher risk of succumbing to this virus and ultimately, God forbid, dying from it. So from a layman's perspective, that's why I'm sure a lot of authorities around the respective colleges, presidents, chancellors, and the NCAA, of course, will be thrown in as well. So, I mean, how do you combat that when that argument is presented to you based on what you just shared?
So, Jerry, it isn't that there's a racial predisposition. It's more a cultural thing. It's actually more socioeconomic, we think. So Black and brown people have more diabetes and hypertension, but the reason they do is because there are higher levels of obesity. And I don't think that Black people or brown people are more prone to be obese, but socioeconomically, people lower down on the scale, whether they're Black or brown or white, the lower socioeconomic rungs have more of a problem with obesity. And then obesity begets diabetes and hypertension, as you know. So the thing is that these are objective, these diseases don't discriminate, right? These are objective things. So if someone has hypertension, has diabetes, has obesity, it doesn't matter what color they are. It just matters that they've got those things. And if they've got those things, I think they need to be protected. It's really no different. I don't know, to take Chris Bosh. And again, I don't know details of his situation, but he had blood clots. Well, he had blood clots and people said, you can't play because you're at risk. Eddie Curry with the Bulls had a heart condition, and that was a little controversial. And but the thing is, if people have those risks, so I mean, this is kind of the thing that I do. I don't do it with those kinds of diseases, but in what I do, and I don't do it as much as I used to when I served as a team physician a lot, people come to the physician and they say, is it safe for this person to play or isn't it? And it, now the diabetes is more to the fore, but it could be because of their neck, concussions, obviously, huge thing with concussions, right? We take people with the concussion protocols, and I think it's been a huge advance, and we say we will not let you out there until you're clear. And then there are some cases, so I don't think that it's, I think it's colorblind, I think it's race blind, I think it's everything blind. It's just objective medical risk. And I'm just saying that I think with COVID, this is something we've never done before. As you know, I've said before that I think that the fact that the culture in football has grown far more permissive of people being big is really unfortunate, because people that are really big they have worse health outcomes. And Of course, the problem is when we discuss this, you can't, a guy in a team can't say, well, I don't want you to play this heavy because it's bad for you because the other guys are bigger, and it's probably helpful for a defensive lineman to be that big. I just think that, and it'd be a hard thing to do, and we've discussed this in the past. I think in general it's a hard thing. You'd have to put restrictions across the board. Probably not happening. You were making the case it's not going to happen. I think with COVID, though, I think it needs to be rethought. I think the stakes are high.
Right.
And I think that, I don't know, if you're a coach on a team or an athletic director and you have a player who is at higher risk, I think maybe you've got a guy that's that, and I don't know how good a player he was. Maybe he was a fabulous player, and maybe he handled his weight well, and it made him a good player. And it isn't just weight; it can be asthma. I know that Eddie Goldman with the Bears elected not to play, and they have two designations. They have one if you have comorbidities, and he took that one. And I read that he has asthma. I don't know anything more about it than that. And they didn't force him to not play, and I'm just guessing that because of the asthma he chose not to, But I think he probably made a good choice. But I think honestly, particularly in the schools, a little harder to do in the pros maybe, but particularly in the schools, I think that you just have to be, especially now, you have to be proactive. And if you compromise the team, if the player gets upset, these coaches in these schools are surrogate parents for these players. And, I just really think that I think you really have to bend over backwards to protect players that are high risk.
Yeah, and Doc, we can continue to go on. I do want to ask you this question because I do believe fear plays a major factor in the decisions that are being made. And you talk about, painting with a broad brush, but across the board, I think many, and not only just in the world of sports, I think, all across our society, fear is running rampant. And a lot of people are saying, they're afraid, where others are saying, there's nothing to be afraid of. But in closing, I want to ask you the question when you talk about, and I understand I'm a part of the media, and I know that, there's some truth out there, and I know that there's some fake information that's being put out there as well. But we see the numbers as of this podcast, the total number of deaths in this country from COVID is somewhere around 191,000. They're projecting 240,000 deaths by the end of October. When you hear those numbers, how do you respond to that?
I think the only thing that matters is to do what's right. And I think it's very clear. So the projections have been wrong all along for increased deaths, as you know. So there was an element of herd immunity out there, and I'm not saying I advocate it, but it's pretty clear that in New York, for example, where nobody's getting sick and nobody's dying, because the virus is out there. So what I'm saying is this: the doctors that I talk to, and this is reported all over, are saying that the virus is less virulent than it was. It's number one. Number two, the reporting is kind of sketchy in a lot of places, because medical institutions are incentivized to have COVID people in there. They're incentivized to say they died from COVID. They get paid more money. So are you dying with COVID or because of COVID? So what I am saying is that the virus is less bad than it was. Even though there's some increases in cases here and there, the deaths have gone down a lot. This is another discussion for another day, but hydroxychloroquine, we've done a lot of research on this, and another day I'll point out to people how that can make a huge difference if we'll let people use it. So how do I feel about it? I think every death is bad, but I think that we're in a very good place with COVID-19 going forward, not to mention potential vaccines.
Doc, thank you so very much. If anyone wants to get an opportunity to learn more and talk more with you regarding COVID, sports injury, sports medicine, how do they get a hold of
you? Our phone number is 847-699-6810. We have a terrific staff. Your call will be fielded by a human being, not a voicemail. Our website is ortho@ismoc.net. Our email, I should say that's our email. We're happy to field questions and help people any way we can.
Dr. Chafferdromas, thank you so very much. It's always an honor and a pleasure getting an opportunity to spend some time with you on the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast. Jerry Riles, Dr. Chafferdromas. We'll talk to you next week, Doc.
Great. Thanks much, Jerry.
Take care.
You too.